Everything we know, the entire universe, might just be a simulation running inside a supercomputer. In this dream world of the imagination, anything is possible. Join us on the Simulationist podcast as we explore our culture of simulations.
Hello everybody, welcome back to the Simulationist podcast. This is the 169th iteration of the show, recorded on the 29th of November 2015, and I am Josh Trelevin.
I am co-host extraordinaire Ryan Kirkby, welcoming you to episode or iteration 13 squared.
Wow, 13 times 13. That means if you did 13 episodes in a row, you would have to do that 13 more times.
Yeah, if you were to listen to a 13 of our iterations...
Or 12 more times, I guess. Yeah.
It would take you still almost 2 weeks to get it all down.
Wow.
Yeah.
I don't know. I
That's
feel,
almost intimidating, dude.
I feel proud of that, but I hope that, I hope it's all good.
I do believe the amount of ideas we pump out any given iteration makes it, if not worth it to go through everything. You know, it's like when you got some spare time, go back into the archives and just pick and choose, and find some secret treasure, some little nugget of knowledge or idea for a campaign or something.
Yeah, I'm hoping that our most recent episodes are kind of our better ones too, as we sort of improve. But I
like to think so.
There's probably nuggets all the way back.
Oh yeah. Every once in a while, I do a bit of a binge, check out some stuff in the back, and just write down notes. Okay, this was a good campaign idea. I want to write that down. Oh, that works out that way. That's a good novel idea. I'll keep that one. So yeah, I think there's no way to lose. We're doing better than we were before, but it's all good.
Cool. Yeah. So Nanowrimo's winding down, or wrapping up, or whatever you want to up or down.
So let's see. There's only 30 days in November, or 31?
30 days, half September, April, June, and November.
I never tried to work with that one. It was always so horrible. But yes, okay, so I got 1 day to write 50,000 words. I know I've lost. I have failed NaNoWriMo once again.
Yeah, I didn't get mine done. I barely got it started. Basically a title page and a first couple of words, and I was like, oh well, I don't know.
In my defense, I was doing, parent stuff for a lot of it, and then sleeping for a third of it, so.
Okay, okay. In my defense, I was doing other stuff. Yeah. Playing video games. And
to be fair, that's kind of what I wanted to be doing for most of the stuff when I was being a parent.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh, man, why am I changing a diaper? I could be playing video games.
That's true.
I'd be playing that new, Diaper Changer 5000 game instead of this. So see, fiction-based news. Unfortunately, don't have much to relate because... it was the Grey Cup today.
Yeah.
And so I couldn't keep any track of any fiction because everyone just kept coming in and wanted to chat about, who do you think's going to win, and the point score and all that. And then my coworker was like, don't tell me anything, because he was putting it all on his TiVo. It's just like he wasn't able to watch it until he gets home.
Okay. Given
the fact that it takes him an hour commute, and he didn't get out until about a little after 5, which kickoff was at 3. He may have been able to get there just as they were wrapping things up, I think.
All right, so we don't actually know who. I don't even know who's playing.
Ottawa versus Edmonton, I think.
Ottawa Senators?
Yes.
No, that's hockey.
We'll make it up. We'll say Senators versus Eskimos.
Edmonton Eskimos. Yes. I know that.
Ottawa. Oh, that's a weird thing, though. So apparently people are saying that's not a good term to use. It's like saying Redskins. It is derogatory.
Oh yeah, I knew that, but I didn't.
I did not know that.
I didn't put the 2 and 2 together. That I just thought of the team as its own thing. But they might have to at some point in the next decade. They might have to change it.
Well, hopefully it won't take them that long to change it.
I don't know. Yeah, it's hard to say with these sport teams.
They turn themselves into igloos.
The Edmonton Igloos.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah. I don't like...
Oh, wait, what are the name of the stone things that they're, like the stone people that they build up?
Inuktitut? I don't know this.
No.
Inukshuk?
Yeah, whatever those are. Use that one for the term instead. Because, they cut a very striking figure. And then if you position, like, you get the rocks just the right way, instead of just having it just like two arms sticking out, you could have it so it looks like he's rushing down the field.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah. Because, I mean, you don't actually have to work it with real physics and all that, so you can have, like, you know, like a stone figure, you know, rushing with a ball in his hand. It's like, yeah, I could dig that. You could even put, like, the helmet on the top there, too, man. Just, you know, mesh the two worlds together. Bada bing, bada boom. Then you don't have to worry about anybody being offended. Well, okay, people are going to be offended, but you don't really have to worry about it.
Yeah, I was thinking about it. I don't know the exact politics involved in that, because one of the things that they're concerned about is this thing that they call cultural appropriation, which is like taking a thing from another culture. And because I don't know if any of the players are First Nations or Métis, or there probably are, I would imagine. I don't know if any would be Inuit, though, because the population of Canada is like a very small percentage of it is actually Inuit.
But we still love them dearly. They provide great, insight of culture. And don't forget, there's a difference between cultural appropriation and cultural appreciation.
Okay, well, I hope so. I mean, I hope there's a way to accomplish that. And because I, like, just in my life of gaming in general, I like to borrow ideas from other cultures.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. If I'm going to be, a character, in a icy, land that's got, barrens and tundras and permafrost and all that, I'm going to likely be utilizing stuff, if not from the Inuit culture, then analogous to it, because I am of the belief that if you are not like that, chances are you're not going to survive very long.
Yeah, that's true.
And the reason why they are, the culture has the traditions as it does is because it helps keep you alive. Traditions that get you killed tend not to fare very well.
Yeah, that's a good point, yeah.
So, plus, there's just, as I say, there's something to be said about cultural appreciation. It's not part of my culture, but I do love a lot of the things that my wife, celebrates and does. Like around this time of the year, at Christmas, what they do over in the Philippines is they got light displays, and it's just like an almost strobe light flashing series of lights. It's like a circular thing. You just hang it up in front of like a window or a sliding door sort of thing, and you just let everyone see. Like, look at all these great like shining colors. It's kind of like all the colors of a Christmas tree condensed into, like a circle about the size of a large dinner plate.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And that's pretty boss. It's like, yeah, okay, maybe it's not the most eco-friendly because it utilizes electricity, but it's really, really stylish. So it's like, yeah, I love that.
Yeah, well, it depends where your electricity comes from.
Yeah.
If it's solar or hydro, it's not so bad, but yeah.
But, you could always be doing better by not having it at all. The only thing better than, like good hydropower, or, solar power is not using it to begin with.
Yeah, well, I've always
reuse, recycle, right?
The nice thing, like, the reason why I think it's good to have Christmas lights, besides just them being a nice decoration to have in the winter, though, is that we are in the northern hemisphere where it gets dark
very early,
and it's actually kind of nice to have, it's not so dismal and dark everywhere. You have some lights.
I do like that part of it. You say what you want about whether you like Christmas or don't like Christmas. Adding a little color to the dark winter nights does a lot, I think, for the human spirit.
Yeah, I think so. But
not if you're like burning coal to make it happen. I mean, if you're just blasting coal out of the back of like a generator plant or something like that, and then
that's not that's good.
Maybe you could be doing something better instead.
But I do wonder about
nice and warm too,
the Philippines, because I don't think they have a problem with short days.
They are just north of the equator.
Yeah,
they're pretty much always at the 12-12 line.
Yeah.
I suppose the northern part has a little bit more variation than the southern provinces that are just above the border.
They have provinces in the Philippines?
Or territories. I call it. I hate to say it, but if you're not from the States, I call each of your little regions a province.
Okay. Yeah.
But I feel that's okay because most people from the States refer to every little territory, subterritory of a nation as a state. Regardless of what it's actually called. It's just a local colloquialism. So, such is life. But, I mean, here's the thing, is that for the whole cultural bit, is that you always make the choice as to what you want or don't want for your own culture, right? Like, I could be not celebrating Christmas at all. It's not as though it's cultural abandonment. It's just a personal choice.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think to some degree you should be allowed to say, I really like what this is, like, and I really like what they're doing here. I would like to, incorporate this into my life and the values it encompasses.
Okay.
And that I don't believe should count as appropriation. It's just, cultural, connectivity. It's like this rings a bell for me. I want to be a part of it. On the other hand, if the people that used to be called Eskimos say it's an offensive term and they never want to hear the word Eskimo ever again, I'll side with them on that one. Sure, we'll find another term for the team. I don't think it'll actually help or hinder their play, at all. They're not going to lose a game because all of a sudden they're the Edmonton I don't knows.
The I don't knows. Yeah. Well,
they may sell more jerseys.
Elk.
The Edmonton more northern than Calgary's.
The Edmonton Eagles. That might be a thing, actually.
The Edmonton Malls. And there'll be a picture of a grizzly.
Okay.
So it'll be a play on words.
Yeah, Edmonton Malls.
Yeah. So we could work it that way. But yeah, that's mostly actually real-based news. So
sports. It was Sports Corner.
That's a weird thing, though. Is that sports is really real, but the terms and the mascots they use is basic fiction.
Yeah, I like that about sports. It is. I mean, it's a game technically.
Mm-hmm.
Football's a game, and it has rules.
Yeah.
And it's not real. There's no real stakes involved. And I guess people get real money. But
apparently, there's a cup. It may or may not be gray or have something associated with the surname Gray.
Yeah.
I'm never certain which because I haven't bothered to check it up. But that's at stake. The same sort of stuff you could get for like $30-$40 over, like your local Sears store. You could do that.
Yeah.
That's what's at stake. You don't have to buy something from Sears. Think about it.
You could have an ornamental cup on your shelf.
These millionaire people won't have to buy one more thing at the local mall. That's what's at stake.
Yeah.
Whoa. All right, but yes, what you been up to this week in personal stuff, Josh, that never actually happened?
Okay, in my world of gaming and simulations, I actually caught some more live performances, which is some of my favorite form of simulations. I got to watch an improv masterclass showcase on Friday night. That's the Paper Street Theater. Masterclass. It was one of the classes that had been working on a class project
to master
for the last couple of to master. So I mean, you get the idea.
Yeah.
I've improv'd with some of them, so I kind of know them. Some of them are my friends. And I got to watch them.
You got other friends besides me?
Well,
I feel so betrayed.
I consider all of our listeners my friends. And
would you lend them $5 sort of friend, or just like acquaintance type friend?
$5 depending on the day. Like today I could, but other days I couldn't.
Because I mean, I love my listeners dearly, but I'm the kind of guy who might not even give my brother $5, guaranteed. They better come up with a good reason why they want $5.
Yeah, actually, I should. I don't know if that's a good measurement for my friendship because I would probably give $5. I've given $5 to a homeless person before, and they're not my friend.
I'm saving up $5, man. It's like that's a stocking stuffer for my daughter, man.
Yeah,
that's like a little people, like animal. I could get my daughter a fake walrus for that.
Yeah, but I'm definitely not good with money and stuff, so I don't know of a good.
So you heard it here first, folks. If you're going to be hitting either of us up for money, go for Josh first, and you better come up with a darn good story for me.
Yeah, and if you want to do the reverse, you can check out our Patreon page. Just look up the Simulationist on Patreon. I don't know why I said that.
It does tangentially connect, and that is our alternative name. Should we ever get sued about Simulationist, we're switching to Tangents.
Yes.
We have a backup name just in case.
So yeah, I watched them, and they put on. There was no explicit theme for the show, but they invented some new games, some new improv games.
Ooh.
I think they played 4 new games. Yeah, 2 per half, and there was an intermission in between, and there was 2 games, then intermission, then 2 games. So 4 games altogether. Kind of like a football game. Whoa. Yeah. Like with quarters.
It all goes back to football.
And if I can...
that's right. It'd be American football, though, because it's got 4 downs, as opposed to the Canadian, which has only got 3.
Yeah, but I was thinking quarters. Does it... I don't even know if football games are divided into quarters, like the halves and quarters.
Well, that's the thing. It depends if you're American or Canadian.
Does Canadians not have quarters?
We have larger fields, and we only have the 3 down sort of thing. I don't know if it divides itself into quarters, but I do know the Americans have the smaller field, the gridiron style, and the 4 downs.
And 4 downs, and we have 3 downs.
Yeah, we gotta do more with less.
I have I
really should sit down and read the rules out for most of these sports just to see what the heck's going on.
One of my brothers and one of my sisters both play football, but I don't really... I've watched only a little bit of that, and I don't really follow. I can't follow what's going on the field.
I remember doing most of the major sports in high school, but I don't think anyone ever told me the rules. I think they just kind of assumed we'd know.
Yeah. They taught us... I played rugby in gym, not on a team or anything, but just in gym class. And they did actually teach us all the rules for rugby. But I can't really remember much of it.
At least you remember that they taught you the rules.
Yeah. Something about not being allowed to pass forward.
Yeah. That's why you got to do the back scoop to pass.
Yeah, you got to pass backwards. You can run with the ball.
Oh, yeah, I remember that part. It was basically, it's we're going to throw you the ball, then you got to outrun everyone, Ryan.
Yeah, and then you just have to get to the end zone and put the ball down on the ground.
Yeah, no showing off on that one.
Yeah.
No spiking the ball and doing your funky chicken dance.
No showboating. Showboating?
That's a tackle-worthy offense. Otherwise, that's all I know about, rugby is this person's going to try and make it all the way to the end, and everyone else's job is to jump on top of them.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
And I remember I got in trouble for using a straight arm. That might have been football, actually, but you're not allowed to have your... when you have the ball and you're running forward, somebody's coming up to try and block you, you're not allowed to straight arm them.
Oh.
I don't know if that was just a rule for us in high school, but yeah,
But you can have your hand, your...
I guess you can have your elbow pointed at them or whatever.
Because, I like my knuckles, but I don't know how much pain they can withstand, but I'm pretty certain it's not as much as my elbow could take.
Yeah, so. I imagine. And if you have, some people will wrap, tape on their arms and stuff. So.
Oh, yeah, forearm's a good way to go. It's a good way to deflect and, disperse the stuff, but on the other hand, because you're effectively T-boning your own arm, that's a good way to break the darn thing. So
I guess you don't want to hit it crossways directly, but if you can, hit it on an angle. That's what I actually took a couple karate lessons too, and they were teaching us the right angle to have your arm at, so that you're not getting it struck, directly across, but you're deflecting.
Hey, what's the rule about grabbing the oncoming person's shoulder and then just flipping yourself over top of them? Is that a valid option?
I'd imagine.
Is there room for ballet and martial arts and all that sort of fun stuff in rugby?
I think you're allowed to leap and stuff, so yeah, I think that would be fine. It can be. I don't know if that's even possible to actually leap.
Because you got yourself a lot of good momentum. All you really need to do is get that little pivot thing going on, so they come at you, and then you just got to go over top and kind of do a tuck and roll and keep going.
It's probably allowed, but my thought is that you have one arm occupied, so it would be difficult, and they have both arms free, so they could probably grab you as you
Yeah, but it's not a move you
over.
see very often. So how often are they going to like, oh, he's jumping over top of me, get my arms up?
Well, have you ever seen, though, sometimes in rugby, if you watch rugby, you'll see them like launch each other up, like way up in the air past the other players?
Yeah, that's one of the reasons rugby is like a much better sport than I hate to say it, it's a better sport than football.
Yeah.
You get those awesome moves happening.
Yeah, that it seems really scary to me, and people get hurt all the time in rugby.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Trust me, you're earning the millions when you're a pro rugby player.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's rugby. What else? I watched another... Saturday was improv. Friday was improv. There's another show on Saturday I missed, but also on Saturday I got to play D&D at Roll for Initiative, Dungeons and Dragons, and it was awesome. I played I didn't play my wizard this time. I played as a paladin, a dwarf paladin.
A dwarfidin.
Yeah.
Which one did you, for the archetype, did you go towards?
Well, I just grabbed a pre-gen paladin, and it already was spec'd out as a...
The white
paladin.
knight, the green knight, or the black knight?
Well, it said Oathbreaker, so I think that might have been special from the DMG. But I actually crossed that out, and I switched to the main one, the original paladin. What is it called? The Oathkeeper, or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think that's right, but...
I would be the white knight.
Yeah.
They really should have just called it like that. The white knight, the green knight.
White paladin, green paladin.
Well, that's the thing, though, is you're like, oh, boy, I love nature, and all the wonderful things like that, and I've got, like, a Fey patron. You're a green knight. Mm-hmm. If you follow the traditional oaths from the previous editions, you're a white knight. If you're going about this like, I'm going to hurt everyone that's ever broken an oath, well, then congratulations, you're a black knight.
Okay.
Or the dark knight, but that's usually Batman's term, so be prepared to get hit by batarangs if you're using that one.
I can tell you, like, I don't know if we've talked about this before, but I don't like playing as an evil character. Like, I've never really... I think I've tried it a few times, but it's not really my cup of tea. I like being a good guy.
Well, that's the thing. You can still be evil and still do good.
I guess so, yeah.
You're just doing it for all the worst reasons.
And I also tend to go with my own ethics, too. Like, so it's kind of neutral, maybe chaotic leaning sometimes, but still sometimes a little bit lawful, so basically neutral good. I just, like, play my characters that way sort of naturally.
Not a bad thing. Not a bad thing, as long as you're comfortable with it.
Yeah, and I like that because that's the challenge I like to, because sometimes it would be easier just to, do some throat cutting and be a cutthroat and, like, kill things and stuff and not have to deal with prisoners.
It is so much easier to sneak up and slit throats.
Yeah.
Once you learn how to sneak up and slit throats. Until then, it gets really difficult.
Yeah, good point. Because if you're a rogue, then it's fine. So it worked for me, and we didn't have any, like, ethical arguments in this particular game, because it was just, a fun session of, the Mistmore adventures that Alex has set up and has been running at basically every Roll for Initiative. Speaking of Roll for Initiative, if we have listeners who are listening who aren't already aware of it, it is a thing in Victoria that anyone can come out to, and it costs money to be a player, but if you sign up to be a GM, you can probably get in for free.
And that's not just because, it costs money because someone's trying to make a tidy profit off the nerds. It's not, dude, we got to pay for the rent here.
Yeah, it's just paying for, because it's at Lifetime Networks, which is like a little, it's like a community center thing, outreach place in Victoria. And so there's that, and there's photocopying and etc. It's just those little
administrative
expenses.
fees.
Yeah. And it's just once a month too. It's not like somebody's regular gaming group. Although the people who I see there, they also play D&D on a regular basis too.
Show offs.
Yeah. So I played some D&D and it was pretty cool. 5th edition, as usual. Yeah.
I got to get back into doing more of that.
Yeah.
But I realize I only got 2 free nights a week these days. Oof.
What else I did
in
the world of simulations? Well, I want to plug Rick and Morty, not plug, but like say that I've been enjoying this show on Adult Swim, is it? Yeah, on Adult Swim. It's called Rick and Morty, and it's just it's a cartoon, but it's adults.
It's
adults.
Off the premise of drunken Doc Brown and like Marty McFly in what was the original premise was a romantic relationship.
I don't know if it ever got to the point of romance, but they're very close, and so yeah. And in Rick and Morty, I think Rick is the grandfather of Morty, and Morty for Marty, and Rick for Doc.
Yeah.
I like that they took that core idea.
I don't know if that's where they ever took the romantic notion beyond the original joke that they had planned.
Oh, okay. But yeah,
that's just what I've been told.
The core idea of that relationship between the eccentric scientist grandpa loner guy and then this kid who's like, fascinated with him. He's the only guy that the grandpa sort of cares about or tolerates, I guess. So he's very particular in who he chooses as a friend or, companion. And
no, you can't use companion. That's a Doctor Who.
Okay.
Don't want to get sued.
Yes, because a companion.
Compatriot.
That's not a generic term. Okay, yeah. And then
cohort.
Like the kid, Morty, he's this, typical awkward teenager, so he's having trouble enough fitting in with other people his own age, so he's like, hang out with Grandpa and go on adventures and stuff. And then they go, do they go on adventures? They go to, different dimensions. That's the premise of this story, is that he has access not to time necessarily, but to other dimensions and stuff. It gets pretty weird. Aliens and clones and all
fun
kinds
stuff
of cool
like that.
stuff. So I basically been watching the clips, a lot of clips of it on YouTube and stuff, and just sort of absorbing the show that way, as I do.
So yeah, you're liking what you're seeing?
Yeah. It's I just like that it's so bizarre. And also for a cartoon show, one of the things that they mentioned...
It's bizarre, but it flows naturally. It doesn't feel forced.
Well, it feels very storytelling-ish. It feels very much like they just let their imaginations go wherever they were going to go.
Because there are times I've seen, programs, sometimes on Adult Swim, where they're trying to do random different stuff, but it really feels forced.
Okay.
So this Rick and Morty for you is still feeling like a natural sort of story, they didn't get shoehorned in, or there's executives breathing down their neck too much. Well,
I don't get that sense. I mean, as far as is it realistic, or is it
Well, no. It doesn't have to be realistic. It's just whether or not it feels like, dude, you guys were trying way too hard to make this funny, and the premise just wasn't funny. So you're always digging what you're seeing.
Yeah. I think it's really good. It's a good show.
Dig it.
Yeah. I think that's about it. Yeah, that covers my simulations for the week. I don't know. What did you do?
Well, I finally got around to seeing Pirates of the Caribbean on Stranger Tides.
Okay. That's the fourth movie?
Yeah, that's the fourth one. That's the non-trilogy movie.
Okay.
I dug it. It's as good as the other three. As a whole, I mean, that first one was just magical. But, I guess it's at least as good as the other sequels.
Okay.
I mean, what can I say about it without spoiling stuff? There was a few things that I found to be a little odd. It is for the Fountain of Youth. And apparently to get some use out of the Fountain of Youth, it's not just drinking the water from the fountain. You need stuff. And it's just everybody else seems to know already. Dude, this is a mythical fountain that most people don't even know exists. How do you know about the ritual that you have to do in order to make it work? It's where did that come from, dude? Who leaked out this information? And then towards the end, you got your various naval nations fighting each other. Because it's always been a race. The Spaniards you've got a head start, you got to go with the English and all that. And it's they do their thing, and then I won't say, exactly what their thing is, who wins or whatnot, who loses.
Okay.
Once they do their thing, then they just kind of march away and just exit stage left. It's just Like that's it, you guys? You're done now?
Now, remind me...
Like, they're doing, like, the actual characters are doing other stuff, but, like, the naval nations and the generic, like, NPC characters do their thing, and then there's just, like, chop. Now we're gone.
Oh, okay.
You guys keep doing your plot-related stuff. And I found that one to be a little weird.
The Pirates of the Caribbean movies, are they sort of set in a historical, like a almost like real, like, you know, that actual time period, or is it sort of an imaginary, magical version of that?
It's a magical variation of it, but it is trying to say as though, like, this happened at such a time and this all could be true.
Okay.
Done.
Is it set before or after the American Revolution?
I'd have to double check the dates.
Okay. I guess America wasn't a naval power right away, though.
It does have Blackbeard in this one.
Okay.
I know Blackbeard officially, like real world, died off of the coast of the Carolinas when the ship sank.
Okay.
So I imagine if you got your Carolinas, sort of thing, as the way that everyone seems to refer to them as when they're talking about them, I imagine it would have hit independence by then.
Okay, yeah.
Do you know when Ponce de Leon was doing his thing? Because apparently I was like, he was searching for that, and he died 200 years ago. So whatever date Ponce de Leon did that, plus 200.
I would guess in the early 1500s, but
in that case, I put it the 1700s, maybe just before the American Revolution.
Yeah, okay, yeah, could be. But
Pirates of the Caribbean, the American Revolution. I don't know if I'd watch that one, although it's got Johnny Depp in there. And he tends to be fairly reliable.
And he has, in these movies, he talks with a British accent, right?
His accent is, I'm going to say 50% alcohol.
Okay.
He always has that movement and the whole thing as though he were drunk. But yes, they say you are a subject of the King of Britain.
So he's English.
So yes, he is.
Captain Jack Sparrow.
Well, I guess, like... That makes sense because it's Jack with the J-A-C-K, not J-A,
not Jacques.
Yeah, not Jacques Sparrow. Sort of thing. So yeah, I guess he's not French. And he didn't have that good of a relationship with the Flying Dutchman, so he's probably not Dutch.
Not Dutch, okay.
And he's speaking English, so it's probably not the Spanish. So yeah. And those were the big powers of the day there. At least that's what I learned from Sid Meier's Pirates.
Okay. Yeah.
Thank you, Sid Meier's, for being an educational resource for me.
Is the Fountain of Youth, is it like a fountain, or is it like a spring? Or
as it turns out, within this one, it was more of a natural spring fountain.
Yeah.
Water dripping down sort of thing. I was wondering about that myself, although the area around it does show like inlaid tile work, although changed and eroded by the forces of time.
Oh yeah, so like a Mayan civilization,
or I guess whatever. Ponce de Leon, like okay, yay, found the Fountain of Youth. Let's make it look better around here.
Oh yeah,
looks cruddy.
Yeah,
and then they just never did the upkeep and maintenance because it's like, dude, there's always water coming out of this thing. Let's not tamper with it because it's the Fountain of Youth, and that's why we're still youthful. So there you go. But yes, I don't say anything like along the lines of like, if there's one movie you've got to see this year, it must be this one. But it's a generally good movie, and I don't think you will regret watching it, sort of thing.
Is it from, like, when did it come out? This year? Or?
I believe it was last year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, this is fairly new. Okay.
Yeah. Still pretty new, yeah. I'm trying to get caught up on all this stuff. Now that I know the local library lets me just look at them for free. Unless I don't bring them back in time, then they charge me.
Right.
I owe $1.80 right now. I forgot to renew my daughter's cartoons. We're making our way through the first season of the Teen Titans series. And she's digging it. She's enjoying it, and she's watching. So hooray. Let's see. Which reminds me, in relation to my daughter, I gave her my big box of dice, miscellaneous dice stuff.
Uh-huh.
I didn't really give it to her. I just kind of gave it to her to play with, but I think she believes it's hers now, so I guess it's hers now.
Right.
And she has just, like, loved counting the dice, looking at dice, rolling dice. She is, like, she's digging them dice. So I think that's going to be my in when I start teaching her like the role playing games.
Yeah. What do you actually use these things for?
Do you want to actually play with the dice? Instead of just, like right now she's sorting them out. She's like, she finds a proper pattern. She sorts them all out. And she finds I got one miniature sized dice. She's, oh, it's a little itty bitty baby dice. She's like, oh, look at this, little baby dice. And then she holds it and, I guess she's technically rolling the dice at this point, but she's just kind of using it in her hand as a cradle.
Right.
So, but yeah, it's just nice to see that she's enjoying it. And it was like it was Christmas when I opened the top of that bin and just showed it to her. She's like, oh, there's so many of them. So it's nice to see that primal connection. That yes, these are the happy eyes of a young gamer just waiting to be developed. But I'm not going to push it. I'm going to wait till she's in a late age and she shows like an interest in that sort of thing. Suppose if I need to help her out with, like math, I can get her to roll some dice and add the numbers together. There's addition for her. Right. Yeah. Let's see. Otherwise, in fiction-related stuff, I didn't play a single minute of The Secret World or Minecraft this week.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I wanted to. I had plans, but it's like something else always came up. Like right now in Marvel Avengers Alliance, there's special ops and a chance to get Jessica, from the new series that's going on from Netflix.
Mm-hmm.
So they got one with the Purple Man and all that stuff, and I'm like, oh boy, and I'm rocketing through. It's like 5 tasks a day, and then I got to spend some time to do research. 5 tasks and then research, and then my current task was to beat the Kingpin 5 times, like beat him up 5 times.
Okay.
And he's like a group boss sort of thing.
Okay.
You start him up in the next 72 hours. He's on your map counting down, and all your friends who are members of the Alliance can fight him as well, and you each get a chance to win lock boxes for a chance at. And this time around, it's Boomerang, so I don't really care to get him. But I had to fight the Kingpin 5 times. So it's like, okay, that's not bad, just fight a group boss 5 times. Unfortunately, I'm getting so good, and my guys are getting so properly trained, I'm kicking too much ass. They have a thing where if you defeat like 5% of this boss's health, you get a lockbox. It's like, congratulations, you've done very good. Take a lockbox for your trouble. Mm-hmm. I beat him down to 0 in a single fight. I completely wiped the table with him.
Oh, okay.
To be fair, I mean, I guess I kind of abused the combination.
Okay.
I've got She-Hulk with her alternate costume. In the storyline they've got, they utilized the Hammers story that they did. I guess it'd be about 5 years ago now in the Marvel. I guess it was their big summer one. Was let's see, how's it go? Odin is not the oldest brother amongst the elder generation of the Norse gods. He has an even older brother, and he's the Serpent. And he had, 8 lieutenants. And then, like we're overhauling it because you just rule through fear and hatred and stuff like that, and you suck. Mm-hmm. And so they managed to banish him, and they imprison the souls of the 8 lieutenants in hammers, because, like Norse mythology, might as well make it a hammer, right? Yeah. And so now, the hammers fall down to the earth, and whoever picks them up gets transformed into the character, just like what happens with Thor. And in this one, in the Marvel game, they decided, we're going to go with 8 different characters, not the 8 ones that they showed in the comics. We're going to have our own 8 ones. And I have fallen absolutely in love with She-Hulk's alternative costume, Skirn, the Breaker of Men. Plus the little stuff I've got to make her even better. Every time she punches, she gets stronger. She hulks out. Mm-hmm. And she's got an ability that allows her every other round to make 2 attacks. And she had the class bonus against the Kingpin that allowed her to do even more damage. And then for my other character, I brought in Cyclops, and his eye beam allows me. He applies a debuff that whenever you attack a person, you get a free extra attack. So she was doing 2 attacks on one round and 4 attacks on the next, and she was getting stronger with every pummeling blow. And so, instead of doing 5% of the boss's health in, the 4 rounds, I just completely killed him. I beat him like I guess She-Hulk would beat the Kingpin in a fight in the comic book universe.
Oh yeah, sure.
Because the Kingpin's strong, he's a well-connected guy and he knows how to fight, but She-Hulk is a Hulk, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
And as Skirn the Breaker of Men, she broke that man good.
Mm-hmm.
So now I gotta wait for him to respawn, because once you take him out, you get your 10 more lock boxes for full defeating.
Yeah.
But then the 72-hour countdown's got to go up before I can get him up again. And then I got to hold back. I got to make certain, because this is taking me way too long, man. This is slowing me down in my progress.
Right.
So I say, okay, 5% now. Just don't do anything until he leaves. And try and resist the urge to, because oh my goodness, those numbers were so big. It's like 15,000, 20,000 damage, and what's the thing is her fists. Not only do they pump her up, but they also weaken his defenses. So the more she hits him, the more fleshy and pulpy he gets, and she just keeps on doing bigger numbers and bigger numbers. And next thing you know, it's like, boom! Whoops! There goes the last 20% of his health. Oh well.
Is Marvel Marvel game? Is it turn-based or is it sort of real-time-ish?
It's a turn-based sort of thing. I think it has something related to do with their stats, but by and large it's pretty much random as to who acts when, and then you just keep that sequence going through.
I see.
So sometimes you'll want to defeat one of the opponents based on this guy's super annoying, and other times you'll want to defeat him and this puts all three of my guys acting in unison. So I can set up these nice slick combos as opposed to I go, he goes, I go, he goes. And it's like me, and then if I can get my three guys going at once, chances are they're wiping the board with all sorts of people. No matter who I'm playing with, because I got a lot of heroes, and I'm trying to get them all up to the maximum level. But every time I get about 20 of them leveled up to max level, they expend a new bonus out, and it's like, oh hey, now there's another level for them. I'm like, oh come on. I am leveling up my characters slightly faster than they're releasing that extra level, but it always seems like a Sisyphean task. Okay, got you to level 12, and they release level 13. It's like, okay, got you to level 13, and bang, boom. I am happy to say, though, that almost all my characters are at base minimum level 9, which opens up all the abilities, so I can make full use of their combat tactics. But it's just like, oh my goodness. Taken me forever to get everything done.
Yeah.
But at least now I got some time, because I got another 36 hours before I can summon the Kingpin again. So it's oh well. I'm having a lot of fun with the characters I have. I'm having weird combinations of characters in there. For some reason I find myself always pairing the Destroyer. I mean, the guy who in the first Thor movie, just beats the crud out of Thor, right? I'm pairing him with Silk, which is one of the more recent Spider characters. For some reason, I always put the two of them together to fight with me. And I don't know why I'm putting them together, but it's always like, okay, I guess, I can't do this class, I'll go with these three. Oh, I guess I'll just put these two together. It's like, that's how it goes. Don't know why, but it is. Oh well, I guess I'll figure that out later, or I'll max their level out, and then I won't play them at all until they increase the level cap. Let's see. Other than that, I finally got into Welcome to Night Vale, the podcast series. I am digging it. I haven't gotten too deep. I am, however, listening to it over on SoundCloud.
Oh, yes.
Because they're all connected up that way, so, once the one ends, the next one starts up. I don't have to push any other buttons. Because apparently I'm just that lazy.
Yeah, I should think about putting our podcast on SoundCloud.
It does seem like a fairly nice thing. It allows for comments, people to make nice little comments and all sorts of things there. But I am enjoying it. My one criticism is I don't think it's something to listen to in the morning or while you are doing other stuff. It's a very relaxed, subdued tone, very calm, like a late-night DJ, sort of thing, playing on a radio station. Which is what it's supposed to be, so congratulations on, successful, achievement of that.
Okay, yeah.
but I think it'll wind up being something I listen to 1 or 2 at night just before I go to sleep.
Ooh, yeah. You'll have cool dreams then, too.
Oh, geez, yeah, so one thing I wasn't even going to mention, but now that you brought it up, I had a horrible dream earlier this week.
Oh, yeah? Okay.
Yeah, a horrible, crazy beast that wound up just scaring me awake. Huh. I don't normally scare awake. Okay, imagine a horse turned upside down, and then you cripple its legs and shatter them until they're bent back around so that it can skitter on the ground.
Oh, okay.
Now replace its head with a hate-filled human head, and then just have it bleed horrible, physics obeying blood.
Mm-hmm.
The blood, it smelled bad in my dream. It smelled like a combination between an open sewer and that chemical like black green grease you wind up getting when you're doing like heavy duty repairs to a vehicle. It had the combination of that. And it never dripped. It would just like flow out along a surface and try and spread out to as much area as possible, up walls and stuff. And they would crawl through the air ducts. Like I was, for some reason in my dream, I was trying to get to a particular house in the area because it's like, this is the wrong dimension. I got to get to the right dimension. I got to get to the house that should have the thing. There it wasn't. I was stuck in the basement with these things crawling through the air ducts coming from
multiple of these horse things.
There was at least 2. So I
do they have a name?
There was no name for them. They're the things without names.
Okay.
But I did make sure to write down everything I could about them, and I just saved it as a file called God Awful Horse Things.
Okay.
So I guess that's as close to a name as they have.
Gaht. Gat.
Yeah.
They're gats.
Yeah. They were pretty bad. But it wasn't just like they're looking bad and just like, because like when I beat them off with the sticks or things, it was like, get the hell away from me, you horrible, horrible, god-awful horse things. It wasn't just the fact that they were screaming obscenities and horrible things, at me and all that. The land around them, everywhere they went, it was gray. It was like a blighted gray. The grass was gray. The trees were gray. The sky was gray. All the houses were gray. And snakes, little snakes everywhere in like levels that would like rival a biblical plague sort of thing. Mm-hmm. And I don't know why they're connected, but they were in my dream. And when I woke up, both my arms, like every hair on them was just like just standing up straight, like I'd been electrified. It's just like it's just like, oh my goodness, just horrible, horrible, god awful things. I don't know where they came from because I wasn't doing anything related. I mean, the last thing I did before I went to sleep that night was have a bowl of cereal, honey bunches of oats with almonds.
Yeah, it doesn't sound particularly nightmare and fuel infusing.
I've had that before going to bed, and that's never, gotten like a horrible dream where I'm stuck in a basement with, like mutant horse creatures trying to kill me. In an alternate dimension, apparently. I said, ooh, just like subconscious. Where did you come up with that? Craziness. But that's, by and large, been my week. Oh, aside from the fact that I managed to get a little time for myself and start trying to properly bag and board my old Dungeon and Dragon magazines.
Okay, yeah, so...
what's the thing is I've gotten a few older copies of the stuff. There was a store that was going out of business about 2 years ago. And I managed to just like, $1 for each of these? Well, I'll snag the whole darn lot. I managed to get some games too that I completely forgotten I had. I had like a Ninja Turtles game from Palladium. I completely forgotten about that. It was just in amongst the miscellaneous copies of Dragon magazine. Yeah. Some old TSR like Spycraft stuff. It's like, right, I can give this one. I think I got 2 copies. I might be able to lend you one if you want.
Ooh.
I don't know if we'd ever do anything, but I got 2 copies, so I can lend someone one.
Okay.
Ooh. But, I got all that sorted out. I'm going to need another 100 bags and boards, though, because I ran out. But at least the stuff I got now is looking all really nice and professional. But like I was looking at all this, I made sure not to open it. It's like, do not open the magazines. If you open the magazine and start reading it, you're never going to get anything done here, buddy.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay. So I was just like, okay, bag You know what? Get the bag open, because I mean, you know how it is with those darn bags. Is you gotta rub your fingers. Okay, there we go. Now I got the little thing put in there, so I can get the board in there and then put the magazine in. And so I was always putting it. The way it always seemed to be for me was that I was putting it in such a way that I was looking at the back of the magazine. And oh my goodness, the advertisements they have just brought so many waves of nostalgia and like I want it. Oh.
I guess probably a lot of that stuff is out of print by now.
Well, that's the thing. I do remember a few of them being like Dungeons and Dragons, First Strike, you know, like the interactive, you know, sort of VHS cassette tape. Might be able to find that one on YouTube, but I'm pretty certain it's out of print, or at least switched up to CD, or HD, you know, DVD stuff. But it's just like, oh my goodness, like there was advertisements they had there for the Planescape Torment, which I really should finish off. I still have my save files for it. I'm kind of abusing the system. You can get the patch, the 1.1 patch for it, easily downloaded if you don't have the anthology. I do have the anthology, but I also have the original game. And I've been playing the original game, which allows me to go through a set of events multiple times. They got one character, Nordom, who's in Modron.
Okay.
But he's being like corrupted by chaos.
All right. Yeah.
And he's in what's called the Modron maze. The Modrons don't understand mazes, so they've made their own sort of like randomized maze to try and figure things out, like what makes this so good. And if you go through on the hard difficulty, then you fight the master of the maze, who's the one that caused the destruction that made Nordom to begin with.
Oh, okay.
But every time you defeat him, you gain like +1 to your stats. And I've been repeating that. I think I've got Nordom at 24 intelligence. Not that it really helps him out much, but you know, just one more time and I'll have him maxed out, and I'll have everything done up, and hooray! Then I'll apply the patch properly and play the game as it's meant to be. The reason I stopped playing, though, was because of one of the issues that patch 1.1 fixed. There was a certain set of events whereby if your sidekick Mort, the talking skull, says something just as you're leaving a screen, he'll wind up like constantly talking, and there won't be that downtime in between when it's like you don't have anybody saying things. And it was always like, I haven't had this much fun since the last time. And he keeps saying it over and over and over again. And I just had to stop because it was just getting so annoying.
Oh, yeah.
And then I never picked it back up again. So I gotta get on that, because, you know, like, I see in the back, it's like, ooh, that's right, I love that game. That game is so good. But I just gotta do that, and then there's just like, just a little bit left to go, and then I can finish the game proper. Hooray! Although, spoiler alert, there's no good ending. There's just bad ending and really bad ending.
Okay, yeah.
But, you know, whatever. But it's a great game, especially for like something that wound up being like an isometric perspective. It's like, it really brings you in. So yeah, if you want to play video games and like not do NaNoWriMo stuff next year, I could lend you my anthology. You could play it.
Well,
you could really dig out.
Yeah.
I gotta warn you though, the anthology comes with 7 other games too.
Okay.
There's plenty of games to be played on that one.
Yeah.
And it's on my list of things I gotta work myself through. But I don't want to have to say, I gotta get through it. It's like, I want to play.
Okay.
I don't want to force myself into it.
Yep.
So Icewind Dale will have to wait. So that's been my week, by and large. Nostalgia, craziness, horrible dreams, and fiction.
Yeah, very good. Yeah.
But we do have a main topic for this week, such as it is. Before we started this podcast, we're eating supper, delicious supper, and we're watching, I think it was the third Shrek, right?
Yeah, Shrek the Third.
Yes. And there's a scene whereby, you know, Prince Charming goes to, like, the villain's bar. And that's when we start comparing notes about, you know, like, how bad things are for the villain, as well as the fact that, you know, like, they do not mesh with some of the more Disney, you know, endings. Because a lot of the Disney ending winds up being that they slip and fall and, you know,
Well, the other thing is he somehow he went to the villain's bar, and there's all these villains still alive and around, right?
Yeah. I guess that's it's interesting because if you want to see which villains are still there. I mean, does Hook die at the end of Peter Pan? I'm pretty certain he survives.
At the end of Peter Pan, the book,
the book.
The play.
I know for the Peter Pan, the classic Disney movie, he winds up getting swallowed by the alligator. Talk.
Okay. Yeah.
Which is, I guess, much more active Disney death than you see most of the time these days. Like Gaston was I never considered Gaston to be the real villain in Beauty and the Beast. But he was the biggest antagonist they were showing. The real villain in that movie was the witch who placed the curse on everyone else in the castle.
Yeah.
That was the villain, and nobody goes after her.
I can't even remember the end of that movie, but does the Beast not fight like an evil witch or anything at the end of that?
No, there's no fight with the evil witch, but Gaston riles up the townsfolk, and they all go marching on the castle.
Okay.
Long story short, Gaston falls to his death. As is the style of the Disney villain.
Oh.
And it strikes me, it's okay, I guess that is not a bad way to go, because I'm just no, you can always make it, no, I didn't die, I was just horribly injured. Thank you for not coming to check on me at the bottom of this ravine. Nice job, hero.
Like the guy in Austin Powers?
Oh, yes.
They knock him off the cliff, and then he's just calling up at them, I think I'm okay, my leg is broken.
Yes. He does eventually, though, wind up meeting his fate in the fiery chair of doom, I believe, correct?
I don't remember. And is that one of the sequels from the Austin
No,
Powers?
it'd be in the first one, because they go, there's now, how does it go? Because I do know there was one thing where it was a crazy little, time knot going on there.
Okay.
For who dies when and how. But I have to double check. But the character was played by, what's his face? The big SNL alum.
Is it Will Ferrell?
Yes, it was Will Ferrell for that character. So it was, of course, hilarious.
Yeah.
And so he had I guess a memorable a non-death there where he's just horribly injured.
Yeah, and I think it's a takeoff on the thing where the bad guy gets thrown off the cliff and then they could just forget about him, right?
Oh yes, that's right. No, he falls off the cliff and he's not dead, but later on at Dr. Evil's chair thing, they pulled the old James Bond thing where it's you haven't lived up to the expectations of Spectre, and that's he gets burned to death. Right. But he's not dead down there, and so it winds up having to be that I'll send in the person to shoot him, and the guy you hear from the guy walking in downstairs, blam! You shot me in the leg. And he's still not dead, just due to generalized incompetence and the fact that it's not hit point damage, right?
Yeah.
And so in that case, it's a very funny death because it's a death by degrees.
Mm-hmm.
But here's the thing, though, is with Dungeons and Dragons, that's how the deaths tend to be, though. It's a death by 0 hit points.
Yeah.
It's you're fighting everything. It's a big heated fight. Tank and spank. Move this here. Keep out of the way of the dragon's breath. And all of a sudden, dragon hits 0 hit points, keels over, and dies.
Yeah, and sometimes DMs will try and stage fights with cliffs nearby, stuff that players can use.
I do know it was mentioned in the 3rd edition DMG for things you're fighting on an icy snowfield sort of thing with a ravine behind.
Yeah.
So you have a chance of sliding whenever you move. Or it's a slightly inclined naturally, so everyone moves 5 feet at the beginning of their turn towards the base.
Yeah.
So if you end your turn at the edge of it, you're going to wind up falling off as soon as your turn begins, or if someone gets a rope around you or something like that.
Yeah.
And I think that's pretty groovy, because that does add an interesting, battlefield tactical element to it. Of course, mind you, if the villain dies that way, it's still a Disney death, fall into your doom.
Yeah.
But it's still a better death than, I'm, rampaging, bastion of chaos and destruction. 0 hit points, down I go.
Yeah.
It works well for the monstrous things. Like if you're fighting the largest orc in, like the orcish horde, go for it, yeah. Just keep stabbing him until he stops moving.
Yeah.
But does it really... I think a dragon deserves a better death than that.
Probably, yeah. So, I don't know, in movies and stuff, you get a bit more variation because bad guys can get, I don't know, stabbed in the back by their... the second in command or something like that, or...
You mean the new big bad.
The new big bad. They can fall off cliffs. They can get crushed by something really big, like a statue that they've built that,
a monument to their own ego.
Their own ego. I suppose, they can get eaten by their own monster.
You can get overpowered. Get too much of a good thing. It's no, now my head explodes.
Yeah. And it doesn't happen too often that the villain... Well, I guess maybe more sometimes, but the villain gets captured, or the police take them in and take them off in handcuffs, take them to jail.
I would love to try that in D&D, a non-lethal campaign.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I'm just gonna pummel you senselessly about the head and shoulders until you fall unconscious, and then I'm going to get these manacles out, and then you are gonna face justice, buddy.
Yeah.
Would you do that? Would you like to play in a campaign whereby you're supposed to try and bring back the opponents alive for some sort of cosmic jailhouse?
Yeah, I think that would be kind of fun. Yeah, I'd play that.
I don't know about 5th edition, but I do know there was that one spell in 3rd edition, or sorry, I guess it was a meta magic feat that didn't increase the level at all, but did change damage to non-lethal. So you just fireball until they drop unconscious, and you couldn't kill them with that fireball.
I guess that'd be okay. I mean, if it works within the in-game justification of it, then I'm fine with it. It's just I don't like the idea of, okay, now we're going to have a non-lethal campaign, but all of the things that you've already been using are just going to also work. Just, fireball still, just now it's non-lethal and stuff. Because I feel like sometimes bad guy. I go with the 3rd edition rules where people are still alive until minus 10 hit points. So you can knock a bad guy over and they'll still be, alive.
But don't forget, the higher your level goes, the more likely you're going to randomly knock them under that negative 10.
Yeah, it could happen. But you could, in D&D, I mean, in order to build up those huge hits, you use things like power attack, and you're like, okay, I'll use this feat and that feat, and I'll use this weapon that I have. But you can always switch out to basically a smaller weapon. Your strength bonus doesn't necessarily compound with levels. So
no.
Just use a dagger, and the max damage D4. And then plus
that's the thing, though. As you gain levels, you're expected to have a weapon that's got so many modifiers on it. So you could have a +3 weapon with 4 different elemental energy types on there. So it's an extra 4 die 6 damage. So it's 1 die 4 plus strength plus 4 die 6 damage.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, just don't. If you're trying to be non-lethal, don't hit them with your flaming frost electricity sword.
Electro-acid sword.
Basically shock the corpse into complete dust.
No, look, he's not dead, and then you just keep touching the base of his spine with the dagger just to make him, the corpse jump and wiggle. See, look, it's only subdual. Oh, that's a horrible notion.
But I suppose also if you're at that level and you definitely want to get a bad guy, you might have access to resurrection magic.
But they have to be willing for it.
Oh yeah, okay, that's true.
Oh, there's always Iron Bands of Bolaro. I choose you.
But I was going to say, in sort of modern world, adventures and stuff, the bad guys sometimes, if all of their minions are killed and they're cornered, they'll be like, no, I surrender, I give up, so please don't hurt me, or something like that. Or whatever, yeah. And also, in war scenarios and battlefields, if the general, if his whole army is defeated, then he's like, okay, I guess I'm captured now. He's not going to, fight to the death.
No, he throws down a smoke bomb and disappears, right?
Well,
that's how it happened at Waterloo, right?
Maybe.
I think my Waterloo's a better Waterloo than might have actually happened. Napoleon fights at Waterloo. He's losing, throws down the smoke bomb. Ha ha ha, disappears. That's how I see it happening.
Yeah.
But, well, let's face it, there's like, in reality, not everyone has, like a very glorious way. I actually had to tell a coworker that, yes, they did know where Hitler's corpse was. It's not like it just disappeared.
Yeah.
He did commit suicide, sort of thing. Like, he did not have a Disney death at all. He realized how bad things were and then took the bullet.
Yeah, he did.
Which is almost a shame, given that, how badly the neo-Nazi movement would have suffered if he had been taken alive. So you don't get the chance to see, Hitler is like this bad guy giving these like impassioned speeches. You just see him as a pathetic guy being held accountable for all the crud he did.
Yeah, and, well, some of the other highest-ranking Nazis, they did end up executing. So they probably would have executed him, like, by hanging or whatever.
Yeah, but then at least it would have been proper justice as opposed to, like he committed suicide.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. And I was reading about the death of Hitler, and just recently before that, they had caught Mussolini, and a mob had basically got to him before they Allies could, and the mob basically hung him from the town square.
But at least it's mob justice. At least that is a form of justice.
Yeah.
Not the preferred form of justice, but it'll do.
Yeah, is that I don't know, I guess that's another way for the villain to go, is to have, like, instead of, it's not his minions, and it's not your soldiers, but it's like sort of either townsfolk that have been terrorized, or, a mob or whatever, and be like, let's get him, and like the mob takes him out.
So that way it keeps the hands of the PCs stay clean.
I guess so, yeah. I mean, I'm always a little bit, yeah.
But that's the weird thing. It's like I have never seen like a PC in any campaign that doesn't have at least some blood on their hands.
Oh yeah.
So it's not like you are not that morally high grounded here, buddy. You've killed a lot of goblins.
Yeah, it happens in D&D. I don't know. And sometimes as a DM, the players will be like, well, we don't know what to do with this character. And I, as a DM, I'm controlling one of the henchmen, and the henchman's just like, I'm just going to slit his throat over here. And I think I had one time, like, they had freed like a goblin, or it might have been a gnome or somebody, and they were trying to decide whether to kill or keep alive some goblin prisoners, but those goblins had been torturing the gnome, so of course the gnome's like, yeah, no, I'm getting my revenge. And
gnomish justice.
Doesn't
sound very intimidating, but okay.
Not that gnomes are necessarily evil, but this one just happened to be like, no, I had enough of it. They treated me really badly, so...
Yeah, no, I can buy that. It seems like it'd be an in-character thing for an NPC.
Yes.
Now, here's the thing. How about, like, after-death effects? One of the things I really did enjoy, at least, I was okay with it in the stories, but I really preferred it in the game modules, was the Dragonlance Draconians. For those who don't know, the Draconians were, I guess, kind of like a Dragonborn race, except they had different effects from when they die. Like, some of them, you kill them and then they turn to stone. And then a few rounds later, the stone explodes. So you'd be in, I guess, their ideal situation was that you kill them, your sword gets lodged in their stone corpse. You try and pull the sword back out of their corpse, and then you are at ground zero when they go kablooey.
Okay. Yeah, that's okay, but, I mean, it has to have a story justification, because...
Well, they were corrupted dragons. There's all sorts of things going on there. I mean, like, just look up corrupted this and that in most mythologies.
Yeah, but to me it's not enough to just say they were corrupt. Like, I'd have to say, like, oh, they were, like, some wizard sort of designed this race to be a battle, like,
yes,
really...
many evil clerics designed that one.
Well, yeah.
For the priest, the priesthood of Takesis.
Yeah, so the idea is that they're specifically for battlefields where they're expected to die and then cause more havoc, sort of indiscriminately to...
Well, see, that's the thing. They came from the eggs of the good dragon, sort of thing. They corrupted the good dragon eggs, and out of each dragon egg, you get like a dozen of these draconians. So what you were doing was depleting the good people's numbers and increasing your meat shields, your disposable soldiers. On the other hand, so it's a very good tactic that way. You've got your disposable mooks, and you're depriving some really good soldiers on the other side.
Yeah, it seems especially evil because it's the sort of thing...
Well, it was the work of the evilest of evil gods. So this is basically I guess those who don't know, Tachesis in the Dragonlance setting was effectively what's her face from the yes. Okay, officially, no, they are completely different, evil gods that just happen to look exactly alike. Unofficially, yeah, it's the same god. It's, like Paladine, the good god, was Bahamut, and Tachesis, the evil one, was the Tiamat. Although, no, they're completely different. Wink, wink, wink.
Okay.
But this is like, the goddess of evil dragons. She is an evil, horrible, bestial god. And this seems very, very suiting for her work.
Fair enough. Like, it's evil and it's a bit chaotic, and it's like...
It's monstrous. It's like, oh boy, I'm going to give you a monstrous ability upon your death.
Okay, yeah, because it's not necessarily... I mean, you gave that scenario where the victor is trying to pull their sword out, but sort of like in...
Well, that's what happens in the first fight, sort of thing, with them in the books.
Yeah, of all of the possible scenarios that this entire race of dragons could get into in which they die, you probably don't necessarily want them exploding because... the chances are they're just not going to hit anybody.
That's just 1 out of 5. If you want to give me a minute, I mean, we can edit out that minute, and I can find the book, and I can tell you what the other 4 do.
Well, they're similar. They're like sort of damage-causing.
Yeah, I think one of them dissolves into a puddle of acid, sort of thing.
Yeah.
I think the gold ones just explode.
Yeah, it's fireball or something.
Oh yeah, they're horrible.
So like most of the time, it's just going to go off, and somebody's like, "Oh, that was weird," because it's like often the the battle that we were just at. Oh, okay, something weird just happened there. And then sometimes it's going to be, it blows up a scavenger.
But that's the thing, is it winds up being set into a circumstance whereby on the battle grid, when you're playing them, tabletop sort of style, you want to change your tactics. It's just like you want to have like a backup weapon fighting these guys, or utilize arrows to do the finishing blow. So that way it's like, oh no, I lost an arrow, I can't recover anyways.
Yeah.
Versus, dude, you do not want to be anywhere within 30 feet of this guy when he goes out.
Yeah. But the other thing I would do is, as a wizard, like being the mastermind who came up with these, I think I would prefer to expend that magical energy on actually giving them an additional attack. Because I suppose you're investing magical time and research and whatever else, spending gold and whatever to... Well,
that's the thing, is, this was like the priesthood of the evil dragon goddess. Yeah. And as such, it's here's money provided for you, and you really don't have much else of an option, because if you say no, we kill you.
I guess so. I guess in some ways it's a little bit like a suicide bomber.
Yes, it wound up being a very... very close in some regards on that.
Yeah. Speaking of suicide, do we go into...
Is it painless?
Is it painless? I was going to ask, do we see villains commit suicide very often? Like, we talked about Hitler a little bit, but we don't... Like, Disney villains won't often commit suicide.
Oh my goodness, do you imagine how much trouble Disney would get into if if Gaston decided, if I can't have Belle, I can't have anyone, unless he stabs himself with what turns out to be one of the Beast's hench, folks. Mm-hmm. Everyone turns back to human. There's this poor guy with Gaston in his head. Yeah. Now I kind of wish I was had some artistic merit to my ability, so I could draw something like that. Gaston stabs himself in the heart with a knife. All the cutlery turns back into people, and there's this poor guy, with his head stuck in Gaston's chest cavity, screaming and screaming and screaming.
I guess, yeah, the only time I can think of that or the major times when villains commit suicide at the end of a battle, like they know they've lost and they're like, oh, gotta commit suicide, is when it's something explosive. It's like, I'm gonna go out, but I'm taking you all with me, and like they hit a self-destruct button, or they turn into a dragon that explodes, or they turn...
just for note, if you think it is a cheap ability to go out with an explosion sort of thing, that is how the original Predator left the scene. He basically realized that Arnold Schwarzenegger was too much, and so he laughs and sets down like a countdown timer.
Oh yeah.
And then he blows himself up.
Yeah.
So I mean, like, good enough for the Predator. So like, don't think it's that cheap a way to go out.
Yeah. Now, if you were building a tri-stat villain, how many points would it cost for like an explosive after death ability versus an attack that you could use before you die?
I don't think there's that much you could do for an after-death ability. There is, however, a self-destruct modifier you can do to special attacks, which is literally, it will blow you up.
Okay.
You take the damage as well. And it's like, you're ground zero. In which case, it gives you like 4 extra levels of damage. So if you just have a basic attack sort of thing that is self-destruct, instead of dealing 20 damage, it would deal 100, which is a lot of damage. It is a nice way to leave the scene, I suppose.
Right.
Because you could put on another couple modifiers, spend another couple points, and for a rather cheap ability, you basically have like, and then everything in the next, 30 meters gets nuked as I go out. There you go. That said, I have never seen a character with it. Oh, aside from the one guy whose actual one attack was blowing himself up, and then he had resurrection abilities. Phoenix Immortale.
I guess sometimes...
He was literally, a suicide bomber that just kept coming back.
What you might sometimes see also in a villain's demise is you might see them do that whole, like, oh, I'm going to take you out with me, like do the pound the self-destruct button, but then the heroes have another, 5-10 seconds or the countdown clock. They manage to stop just enough of it to have the bad guy still dies, but the big explosion, or it's only a little explosion.
Close the blast doors!
And and so he just blows himself up, and then nothing happens to anyone else.
Well, someone's got to clean the blast room, but that's not something they show in the movie.
Right.
Yeah. It still seems like a bit of a Disney villain, kind of like, oh, and then I will leave the scene through, like some machination of my own.
Yeah.
And thus I absolve you from any moral quandary about killing me. Which is, I gotta say, one of the things I really do like about Dungeons & Dragons, especially 3rd edition. They did have stuff for their Book of Exalted Deeds and the Book of Vile Darkness that explicitly laid out that killing a good creature is an evil act. Killing an evil creature is a good act. Now, killing an evil creature that is begging for mercy is not exactly a good act. But killing an evil creature that's doing evil things is completely illegitimately, and so because that's the weird thing about Dungeons and Dragons is morality isn't relative; it's objective. It is an objectively good thing to do.
Right. Yeah, and I've always disagreed with that. Like, just personally, like, as, when I run a game, I like...
But mind you, this is in a reality whereby if you have any moral, qualms, like, is this person good or evil, you can literally come up with a spell that, slams down on them, and if they get hurt, well, I guess they were evil. That's that. There's no questioning it. It is that objective.
Okay.
It's literally a smite evil spell. It's like, I guess you can't be evil because I cast it on you and you didn't get hurt. My mistake. I thought you were evil. Sorry about that. Let's go have some drinks down at the pub.
Right.
They might be neutral instead of good, but at least they're not evil. There you go. And that's, I figure, in any reality where that's a legitimate tactic for determining morality, then sure, why not? Killing an evil creature is a good act. It's morally good. It's a crazy, crazy reality. But you know what the craziest part is? There are some people that have beliefs about morality being objective. Like, this must be good and this must be evil. It's never relative. They actually think they're in a reality that would be like that. That's crazy, man.
Wait, in what?
In the real world, there are
world?
people that believe in an objective, morality system as opposed to subjective, and they believe they're in a reality whereby the situation I presented is like a potential, like this might actually wind up happening. It's like,
okay, well,
your actions couldn't be conceived by their relative values. It's morally, black and white, cut and dry. It's like, whoa.
Yeah, I think
is nuts.
I think my morality system is mostly objective in that I think there's a way to analyze any situation and determine sort of an optimal
but that's okay. Well, okay.
action.
But figure this: is killing a person good or evil?
Evil. Yeah.
Okay. Now we get into the whole horrible philosophical arguments. You're on a train, and it has like a way to switch between track A and track B. Track A has one person on it. Track B has 5 people on it. What do you do?
Oh, well, if you absolutely are sure that you don't have any other choices.
It's naturally set for track B.
Yeah.
You can switch it for track A, which would kill only one person as opposed to 5. What do you do?
Then I think it's preferable to only kill the one person.
In which case, it's morally subjective. Killing a person is not an evil act because you chose not killing 5 people.
Well, it's sort of the lesser of 2 evils, I suppose, is what I would...
But that's the thing. It's like you've just agreed with me that morality can wind up being subjective, given that you can avoid more deaths doing other things this way. By the way, I do believe the correct answer is you flip the switch back and forth really quickly and derail the train before it kills anyone except yourself.
I mean, I was going to try
If you are going to kill anyone in that scenario, the only acceptable answer should be yourself. Bam. Now give me the grant money instead of paying these people professorial levels of money year after year to argue this stuff. I just got you your answer.
I guess if there's a way to sacrifice yourself, I mean that's
why I say you flip the switch back and forth, and thus the train can't properly switch between track A and B and winds up crashing, as it just flies off the rails before it gets to any side. Yeah. The only acceptable choice to kill is yourself, as you save 6 people's lives.
Yeah.
But
I mean, I don't know if we want to get into morality, but I think it's never.
But that's the whole thing. I mean, that's the reason why they have the Disney app, is to avoid that entire branch of horrible is this a good thing? Is it a bad thing? What's the relative value of it? It's to say, okay, no, and then apparently the guy just slips and falls off a cliff at the end. The greatest hero in all of the Disney movies is the dude who waxes the floors. He kills so many villains. The dude who polishes everything up is the guy
off of things onto floors and
he's the guy responsible for it all. There's just some no-name guy polishing the floors, waxing everything up just to make certain that the villain will wind up slipping at the right time, and thus nobody has to worry about the moral quandary of should we kill him or her.
Well, I don't know about moral quandary because sometimes it's just we can't have the movie go on for another 20 minutes as we discuss watch him go to jail and whatever.
But the sad thing is, from what I've heard for a number of reviews on some of the Disney sequels, the direct to video sequels, a 20-minute dissertation on the moral objectiveness of killing the villain versus imprisoning them forever would have been a better movie.
Okay. Yeah.
Harsh.
Yeah, you're talking, sequels and direct-to-video and stuff like that. So
I hate to say it, Disney always hasn't done the best job. Their Aladdin series, I think, was pretty darn good. The sequels there, I think, were good. They weren't able to get Robin Williams for the voice in the second movie for that. There's a story behind that. But they got him back in the third one, and it was all nice and magical.
Okay, yeah.
They did get, Stan Castellaneta, the dude who does the voice for Homer Simpson. Turns out he does a good genie voice. He's not perfect, but he sounds pretty darn close. So there you
go. What about death on a deathbed? Do we ever see sort of a... I guess, we don't usually see villains live to see old age, but every once in a while we do, is that they get,
Well, there are the villains that'll have the posthumous will. One of the things that happened at the start of Season 2 for The Flash was... I don't want to call him Harrison Wells because it was never actually Harrison Wells. It was, the guy from the future who killed Harrison Wells and took his life. So I guess it was kind of Harrison Wells. But he has a video confession saying that, yes, I was the person who killed Nora Allen, and not the guy who's been in jail for it for the last, decade. And thus, posthumously, I guess does a good deed. That's his deathbed thing is to make sure that Barry Allen's dad can get out of prison. So you can have, especially with modern technology sort of thing, not quite at a deathbed, but you can have like a posthumous sort of like, my final word is this.
Okay.
Which I think is pretty nice, provided the technology allows for it. Although I suppose anytime you got like even the written word, you could wind up having the guy like write his will out.
Mm-hmm. And what else?
Upon my will, I bequeath everything to the person who kills me, the person who killed me. There's a nice way to go on for your sequel.
Actually,
Disney, you owe me some cash. I got you ideas.
Speaking of getting things off of bodies, one of the reasons why it's kind of useful to have the villain fall off a cliff or get blown up or incinerated or shot into space is that then you don't get to loot the body or have to deal with like how are we going to bury him, because like who's going to want to bury you? Like what church is going to want this horrible person in there? Yeah, well I suppose in D&D if like the dragon just dragons don't carry loot on them necessarily, but if your bad guy just falls flat on the battlefield at 0 hit points, it's like woohoo, now we get all what was on him. But if he falls off a cliff or gets shattered by a bomb that's built magically into him, then he's won't.
Yes, there is actually a feat in the Savage Species book that will allow you to deal elemental damage upon your own death. Mm-hmm. Although I think you might have to be of an elemental type for that one.
Okay, yeah.
So that only applies to elemental-based things. So if you're looking for your half-fire elemental troll to have a little extra oomph when he leaves, because he was just so annoying in life, because, fire immunity and trolls with their generation. Hope you brought acid.
Yeah.
You can make it even worse. So you get your half fire elemental troll with a ring of acid resistance, and then to make him even more annoying, you make sure you spend the feat that he blows up in a fireball after he goes out.
If you're a wizard and you know the contingency spell, I believe you can attach pretty much any spell with a contingency and just have it on
but
yourself.
It always seemed like such a waste to do it's meteor swarm upon my death. It's like no, dude. Like I'm gonna try and beg and cheat and steal my way to get myself this resurrection scroll here. So there we go.
Yeah, contingency resurrection. That's better. Or contingency teleport and resurrection, or something like that.
Yes, there's a lot of people that have spent a lot of time and written many, many words on the internet for what is best used with contingency. So look at their stuff. Don't just. There's some elaborately beautiful things they've done.
We could probably do a whole podcast about the contingency spell.
That's one of the things I do like about the mod for Minecraft with the Ars Magica 2. Mm-hmm. They do have contingency options. Like contingency hurt, and then apply this effect as well. And then I guess you got to renew it every so often, but it is like a long-term sort of duration.
Yeah. Okay. Have we missed any villain ways for villains to die?
Well, I mean, there is always hoisted by your own petard sort of thing. I mean, I guess no, I'm not even going to call it a spoiler alert because it was in the Lord of the Rings books, but not in the movie. Sauron. Gets blown up, but Saruman does he manages to escape Isengard. He gets blockaded in, and then he manages to sneak out, and then he winds up getting, I believe, it was stabbed in the back by Wormtongue, Grima Wormtongue.
Yeah, because he goes to the Shire. That's where the whole scouring.
The Shire does not, survive as good as it did in the movies. It gets trashed.
Well, he turns it into basically another industrial. He's trying to industrialize the Shire too.
Yeah, and the big old tree that the Baggins residence is known for gets chopped down, and it's like, oh man, smoked and polluted everywhere. You've ruined it. But he winds up getting stabbed in the back by Grima Wormtongue.
Yeah.
In which case, it's just apparently that's what happens when you abuse a person long enough.
Yeah.
Which is a nice way of because I mean I've played in I've run campaigns whereby people are playing evil characters. And oh my goodness, the amount of times it's just like, oh, I know how to avoid paying these mercenaries. Mwahahaha. And then it's like, are you going to try and sign your own death warrant here? I mean, like, really? Yeah. You're going to try and betray the people you hired because you didn't have enough force of arms yourself? You gonna think this through a little bit before you decide to stiff them?
Yeah.
And every dang time they try to go down that route, it's how it happens. Okay, that said, there is one last villain demise I would like to mention because my daughter has the stuff out here right now. She has the Equestria Girls movies, and she loves to watch them. And the bit that got me about the first one was, evil girl turns into evil demon, and then she winds up getting blasted with the power of friendship. And then she shows remorse. She winds up becoming like a good character in the later, I guess it's 2 movies. The next 2 movies they got for that, she's a good person. She's like a recovering villain.
Okay.
In which case, I don't fully understand, like, if they hit her and they forced her to feel bad for her actions, or if they had somehow corrected, like, a mental imbalance whereby she now has the proper empathy that a normal person should have.
Okay.
And I'm not certain which one they're actively, like, portraying up.
Okay, because my favorite thing is the whole Sun Tzu, like, the enemy realizes that there's no way he can win, and he's basically going to be killed, so that's when he does the turn. And he's like, okay, you guys, show mercy, or whatever. And then if he can backstab them from there, like, he will, of course. Like,
or you could go, like, the route with Vegeta, realizing, like, I can't beat you guys, please let me learn. In which case, you appeal to the villain's, weakness, like the desire for power. Bada bing, bada boom. I guess I'll do a bit of a spoiler for the movie Kung Fu Hustle. In the end, the good guy manages to show just how awesome and powerful he is, and the big bad guy bows on one knee, like teach me. And he's like, I will. And this winds up you getting, like, your villain reform. Mm-hmm. Which I think is maybe one of the best ways to go about. Like, if you really dig a villain, and you're fighting against, and you notice that the DM really seems to be stacking things in the favor for this villain to not be dead, then try and kind of lean into the curve on this sort of thing and try and say, join us. You don't have to be this way, and then the DM winds up having like a kick-ass character of their own, and then you wind up not having to kill the guy, and you still get access to all his fun stuff without having to deal with like, oh yes, it's mine because I killed him, and that's how things work here.
Yeah, I like that too. I like approaching that as a DM and wondering whether this character, like if you throw an evil guy at the party and you're like, you've come up with his motivations and this
guy is so awesome. This guy is so understandable,
awesome.
Man.
You know what he wants, and then the players somehow figure out, oh, well that guy wants to marry this and this princess, but she has a sister that maybe we can, and then DM's, oh, well, I guess, I mean, you're right, and now you have a very powerful ally, and what do you do with that?
Disneyland. We're going to Disneyland, and we're making sure he doesn't go anywhere near anything slippery.
Yeah, right.
No
place for you.
I imagine villains do not like going to Disneyland. It's all just some horrible, ominous death trap for them. Which makes me wonder about the old rumors like, oh no, someone lost their life on whatever ride it was they've got. It changes. It's an urban legend. Like someone they go on the what's the one they have where it's effectively they're on the Matterhorn, Splash Mountain.
Well, there is the Matterhorn is its own ride.
Oh,
there's
it changes which ride it was because it's like it's on this ride or it's on a log ride sort of thing, and it's like and they lose their head.
I think there has been one or two deaths on a
but
ride.
I don't think it's
Disneyland.
like a decapitation death.
I don't think it was decapitation.
But I wonder if you could spin that sort of thing the next time around and say, and the twist was they were a villain, and all villains die in Disneyland.
Yeah.
Da-da-da-da.
Deathland.
Well, it is effectively just a giant death trap, man, and according to the Disney rules of the universe. Get yourself some hiking boots, man. Nothing slippery at all. Keep low to the ground.
I wonder, I guess another thing that can happen to a villain is they can be defeated and escape, and we'll live to fight another day, or I'll get you, but, I didn't accomplish this goal.
But mind you, every time the villain loses and lives, they are a little bit more pathetic the next time you encounter them until they're nothing more than a joke character.
Well, that's what I was thinking, you could have them recur a few times, and then after a while it's just, it's just that guy we know. and eventually he might even turn or become an ally, or you just find out that he died somewhere else. Well,
that's the thing with Jackie Chan Adventures. The main villain was always Shendu, but his active big bad on Earth, the dragon, if you will, which is a little ironic given that Shendu was actually a dragon, was the mob boss Valmont. And then he winds up losing his Dark Hand organization because all its energies are invested in trying to get these magic talismans, man. And then the last time you see him, he is actually a bus driver. Things happen to him, things go bad, he makes appearance here and there in the later seasons, but his final appearance in the series, he's a bus driver, things go bad and down, he runs out of the bus, it's not worth the pay.
I wonder, do you, at some point, if you keep on encountering the same bad guy over and over and over again, each time he's a bit more pathetic.
Hey, Dave.
And the last time you encounter him, he's not even doing anything villainous, but at that point, do the heroes still... I guess it depends on the alignment of the heroes, if they're sort of lawful and working for the government.
Well, I am good, but I am chaotic good. So while you're not doing anything evil, I'm still going to give you a wedgie.
Yeah, or if they're employed by the government, they're well, we have to arrest you and take you in, even though, it has been...
Well, so that's the thing. I mean, the guy was, Valmont was a leader of organized crime and had committed many, many illegal activities. And apparently, he just once he crashes and falls, he burns so bad. Section 13 just doesn't care. We know. He gets a paycheck every 2 weeks. He's paying taxes now. I guess it doesn't matter if we bring him into justice. It's not like he killed anyone. This is a kid's show.
I guess that's also there's a bit of a difference between period pieces and sort of a modern day, because in the modern day you can chase someone all around the world and sort of their criminal record follows them, but in back 100 years ago you could just cross state lines and be oh well, no longer a criminal.
Well, that's actually still true. One of the let's see, he was an Israeli secret agent sort of thing who was trying to steal government secrets from America. And he got caught, and he got sentenced to 30 years in jail, and I think it was just earlier this week, or was it last week? He finally, his 30 years were up, and he was out. Yeah. And so he's still seen as a horrible traitor in North America, but over in Israel, he's perceived as a hero.
Oh, okay.
So, sometimes I guess it depends on which side you're on. You're not always the villain.
Yeah. I suppose, we had the Cold War, too, with a lot of, switching sides and presidential pardons,
double agents, triple agents,
and what do you call it? What Edward Snowden had, asylum.
Yeah.
And, you get asylum in different countries and in a.
Well, that's what Assange is doing technically, although he's still in England. He's in the embassy.
Yeah, he's in the
Ecuadorian
embassy. Yeah.
It's cost that government $10 million in surveillance just to make sure he doesn't just walk off and hop a plane to Ecuador.
Yeah, the United Kingdom. Yeah.
Yeah. They spent $10 million just paying people to watch the embassy to make sure he doesn't leave.
That's. I guess it costs. Well, how much should it cost? Because a person you got to hire.
He's been there a number of years.
You got to hire. You want 24 hours of.
But there have been times when they've had like 20, 30 police officers there. There's sometimes I remember seeing you get your live feeds and all that going on there with people on the ground, where it looked like they were going to wind up storming the embassy illegally just to get him.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But there were so many people watching and so many things filtering. It's I guess these 2 vans filled with police bobbies are just going to sit there and do nothing right now.
Yeah. I don't know. That's kind of cool. It's like, real adventure stuff. I don't know.
It does. Well, I mean, it seems adventuresome. Apparently, his health is not doing too well because he's not getting outside, getting a lot of activity. Sort of thing. He's got to stay in that embassy all the time. But see, if it was a real adventure, he would have switched spots with like a pizza delivery man, slipped out the back, and then before they realize it, Pizza Man's in Ecuador.
Yeah.
Dun-dun-dun-dun. Oh, there's your conspiracy notion. What if he actually is, and the Assange that's in the embassy
is just the pizza guy?
is like a body double, just designed to keep everyone looking that way when he's really the other way.
Well, I would imagine once he actually got to Ecuador, there'd be no reason to have.
But that's the thing.
Ruse.
If they're gonna if they had considerations about illegally storming an embassy to capture him, then they want everyone to be looking at him there. And that way he can live a free life without having to worry about agents or mercenaries just coming up, picking him up, rolling him up in a rug, and then just carrying him across on a border that does have an extradition treaty. So he lives a free life in Ecuador, and he has been living a free life. His body double has to stay in the embassy.
Well, sure.
So attention is focused elsewhere.
That would make for an interesting, modern day
That's
adventure.
a conspiracy notion. That's a conspiracy notion for this week. It took us a little extra long, but we finally managed to do it.
All right.
Well, we should probably give our final notices and all that sort of stuff, because it has gone long.
Yeah, social media, you can always email us with your thoughts, folks, listeners. TheSimulationist@gmail.com is our email address, and Facebook.com/TheSimulationist is our Facebook page where you can write little comments on all the episodes.
And we do try and go on Facebook at least once a day, so you should be able to get, at very worst, about a 24-hour turnaround.
Yeah, exactly. And you can find it on YouTube.com/TheSimulationist, and you can tweet at me at Spaceboot1 on Twitter. That's Spaceboot number 1. That's me. And Ryan doesn't have a Twitter right now.
I am a Twitter ghost. I will go to spots that are Twitter big, but it's usually stuff like, Will Wheaton said this, or I'm looking up at the Wonderella website stuff, and let's see what she's posted for humorous things on her Twitter.
And we always appreciate reviews, whether that's iTunes or whether that's wherever you can put a review and just let other people know how much you loved this or hated it.
We're not full of pride here. If you want to give us a review on a bathroom stall, we'll take it.
Oh, we'll take that too, yeah. And of course, real life, if you have friends who are into video games or role-playing
the bathroom stall again, I suppose.
Dungeons and Dragons, or any of the other things that we talk about during all of our episodes, or people who just like to hear cool stuff talked about. I think this is a pretty good podcast, and I think your friends would like it too. So let them know in real, that whole word of mouth thing.
But don't spread the word about Assange actually being in Ecuador.
Yeah, let them find out by actually listening to the podcast.
Yeah, the government has to listen on this one here, man. Don't tell the government about it, man. Shh, it's our secret.
Cool. All right. Well, finally, I don't know, wrap up stuff.
I have to say, out of all the deaths stuff we covered, I do believe the villainous reform is my favorite.
Mm-hmm.
Although I must say, as opposed to the pony one, I do prefer the Vegeta one, because then they were able to seduce him to the side of righteousness by the virtue of, he has always wanted to be more powerful, so they find more power for him. And it's like if you follow with me, you will become more powerful, so, align with me, sort of thing. I found that one to be really powerful and really awesome, because then you can still have... oh no, now we've got another big bad guy. How are we going to get rid of him? And then you get your former bad guy to prove just he's not that good still. Bam! He's the one who offs him. It's okay, now let's keep going on what I want. So you have the guy who's not too good, but he's still with you most of the time, right?
Yeah. So there's that scenario. I just thought of another one too. Right. Is when the big bad guy sort of is killed or dies, and then has a reform moment like Darth Vader. I guess Darth Vader reformed technically
redemption
before he died.
equals death.
But basically, the bad guy is dying, and he's okay.
I've wasted my life.
I'm sorry, I guess. My bad, and I'm dying now.
There are people that have apparently found God on their deathbed, sort of thing.
But yeah, you can sometimes get that sort of deathbed scene with the bad guy. It's I realize now.
My one regret was not casting you all when I had the chance. And then you just die, flipping them off.
Yeah, one of those, yeah.
I prefer my way, because that way you went out hardcore. didn't waffle at the last moment. Oh no, maybe I did the wrong thing. It's like, no, I was committed to my action. I'd do it again, and I probably will this time as a zombie. I'll be back next season.
Yeah, well, that makes for a good, powerful, emotional character, and dramatic. So I like it too.
There's always something to be said about the strength of conviction. Yeah. Rorschach in The Watchmen was never a very well balanced character mentally, or like even like the better, like a person you'd actually want to spend time with, but he did not falter in his belief system at all, and I can respect that.
Yeah, but I think I like that you take them to jail. I mean, I'm not that big a fan of. It
is the ultimate justice.
Some of our criminal justice systems.
But that's the thing. Think about this.
Okay.
It's the reform system.
Yeah,
whenever you put someone in jail, it's supposed to be reformed.
Intended for reforms.
So, in which case, then you align with me, Josh.
Yeah, it's basically.
Do not fight me on this one. Side with me. The reform of the villain.
I don't know which one of us were the villain I guess it was me, because I came over to your side. I managed to convince you we're on the same side. You never were against me, Josh. Yeah, we never were villains.
Yeah.
Or villains of each other, or neither of us were villains. Yeah.
Well, I guess we were antagonizing each other, which was fast. But okay, yeah. All right. You take care out there. You'll hear from us again in 7 days.
I've been Josh Treleaven.
I've been Ryan Kirkby.
Yes, and